Just launch into it. They'll.
Okay, let's talk about Amazon. Y'all ready? Let's see. We had a good point about poetry.
I was just talking with Juliana Lytle, who is a poet, and she had said poetry does not show up well on an ebook. It doesn't. It loses its formation. Right. So that's one reason 82% of people buy hardback books if they're buying
one really quick. And I just spoke with James, and he reminded me that if you are making your own ebooks or making for print, be sure to read the style guides. He said the Smashword style guide, if you decide to use that distribution, they have a really good style guide. And we also agreed that the Amazon and Kindle style guides have improved over time. But one of the major downsides of one of the hurdles to overcome is that the knowledge base for a lot of these things is really spread out, and you never know what's up to date until you've tried it, unfortunately, a lot of times. So, but that is one, definitely, if you are publishing on Kindle, you have to read the style guides to be able to make sure it's right.
What about CreateSpace? How's theirs?
CreateSpace, I'm trying to think if they have they have forums and things like that. I do believe they have a style guide. I'm getting a nod from Mathis back here. So I have looked in that style guide, and you need to check it, especially like with Kindle, you have to have your table of contents at the beginning and things like that you might not realize if you didn't check it. So
I wanted to make a mention of a question that was asked during the break, especially regarding the chicken soup. A lot of times, if you have a short story that you've already published somewhere, they will not accept those. You have to be aware of, buying first rights and second rights and all of that. Usually, if it's a published story, they want first rights. And so, if you have something published, you need to think about if you want to publish it somewhere else, and you have to deal with the first rights or second rights or what have you. So if you have something like on a blog on your computer, and you have a blog that you're publishing, and you put some writing on there, and you say, I want to sell that, then if it's already, that's considered published already. And so you need to be aware of that. If you go to sell it to someone else, they'll say, is it published already? Because it might determine whether you get a good price for it or not.
I'll add, since we're talking about submissions and see people, we all seem pretty interested in them. The best resource, and Mike Akins will back me up on this, the best resource I found, oh, he's up at the front, sorry. He moves around a lot. Duotrope, Duotrope, is the absolute best resource for finding outlets. If you're looking for places to publish short stories, I believe they also have the outlets for novels and things like that. And basically for anything you write. And it is a paid subscription, but it is about, I believe it's $50 to $60 a year, maybe. It's less than Netflix, if that helps. And it allows you to track every submission you make. It tells you how long the best thing for me, I'm not great at submitting short stories, I'm not great at getting them published, but for me, one of the great things about it, Duotrope, the best thing I found about it is that it tells you how long it takes for them to get back to you. Because as we've said, a lot of times in the publishing world, you kind of feel like you're in a black hole, and they will tell you exactly how long you can expect. And that can make you say, oh, it's taking a little longer, maybe that's good, all the things we tell ourselves. But I just want to add that.
So they tell you where you can find places to submit to?
What they do is you can sort it by the genres that you're writing in and the lengths and how much they pay, and it allows you to find everyone. And if you're taking submissions, you're probably on Duotrope. And it even has anthologies and things like that are limited time. And it tells you whether they're open or closed to submissions. It's a really good resource. And we can probably talk about submission processes a lot more, but we'll move on.
Okay, let's talk about Amazon. I want to talk about vocabulary first. I hear these same questions over and over and over where we go. Kindle Unlimited is a subscription-based lending library. And so you pay a fee and you have Unlimited, you get books free. So if you put your books on Kindle Unlimited, that's the only place you can put your books for sale. You cannot put your books anywhere else for sale as an ebook if you choose to go with Kindle Unlimited. And you can Google all these terminology. KDP is Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, which Ryan is going to talk about. And then we're going to talk about Going Wide, and then we're going to talk about Ingram, and Craig is going to talk about Ingram. So that's where we're starting. Kindle Prime is different. Kindle Prime is, you get discounts on everything that you buy, correct? That's a subscription process, but it's different
Oh, if you're
from
on
Kindle
Amazon
Unlimited.
Prime, if you have Amazon Prime, which gets free shipping,
Yes,
you get
it's
discounts.
different than
It is
Kindle
different than
Unlimited.
Kindle
Yes,
Unlimited. I
okay.
believe so.
So any questions about that, the terminology yet? Okay, Amazon.
Okay, I'll do my best here.
I don't have all the latest numbers because I'm not currently using Kindle Unlimited, but we can talk about that. What Amazon does is they have a service called KDP, and that's where you are able to upload your book for ebook, and they now have expanded it to include printed books, soft covers. They do not have a hardcover option that I'm aware of. We were talking earlier that Ingram Spark does have hardcovers, and I think Lulu might have hardcover options as well. I think hardcovers is going to be the next big thing in print on demand. Once they figure out how to make them look and hold up really nice, it's going to be a huge thing, in my opinion, because it's still something that some people want. Now, as far as you also have the option through Amazon of using CreateSpace for your print copies, which is what I'm currently on for my print when I sell through Amazon. With Kindle, the only thing that CreateSpace used to do that Kindle Direct Publishing paperbacks did not do was allow you to buy a proof copy, which you always want to do when you're publishing so you know what it looks like, and the prices are very reasonable. But now that you're able to do those on both, there's really not a difference that I can think of between CreateSpace and just Kindle paperback. I recently had a nightmare scenario, though, I mentioned earlier with Amazon, where I was banned from the Kindle store because of, apparently I'm a criminal mastermind. Don't tell anyone. But having my stuff separated by CreateSpace and Kindle did mean my stuff was still at least on the store. So I don't know if I'm going to be switching to Kindle paperback anytime soon because of that. And I'm actually, if I was really smart and more productive, I would possibly switch it to Ingram. However, for ease of use, it is so easy, and there's no setup fee or anything for uploading to Kindle. So for just starting out, I can't recommend it enough for ease of, there's really no barrier to anyone being able to put something out. Of course, the other side of that is anyone can put something out. But if you really put the work in, it's gonna look, I've always had very good returns for how it looks. Kindle Unlimited, what that is if people are subscribed to Kindle Unlimited and they choose to read your book, you get paid per page of what they've read. That's actually different than it used to be. Used to, if they read a certain amount of your book, no matter what it was, they got paid the same amount from they have a big monthly pot of money, and it decides how much you get paid for each thing. For my genres, I did not see a big return on Kindle Unlimited. Of course, that's not that I'm seeing a huge return in everything, but Kindle Unlimited did not seem to be the smartest way for me to push my work. If you write in romance, I know that a lot of romance writers and erotica writers and some of the other, some of those genres do extremely well because the people who read those genres read voraciously. And if you write in a genre that reads voraciously, Kindle Unlimited might be the thing for you. I also know that the most successful self-publisher, one of the most successful self-publishers we've met here is Bethany Claire, and she does not use Kindle Unlimited because it completely restricts you from any other ebook marketplace. And so if you are comfortable with only going through one marketplace, it's definitely worth trying. Kindle Unlimited has the additional option of allowing you to run promotions on your books. It lets you do temporarily allowed to be free, or a countdown where it starts out free or a low price and then slowly gets back up to your regular price. And those are things you miss out on and selling on Amazon if you do not use Kindle Unlimited. Are there any questions about those types of things? Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't necessarily have a question, but I do have a novella on Kindle Unlimited that's fixing to go off, and 0 return. But I didn't do any advertising, so I was
Yes,
nothing in, nothing out.
you were preaching to the choir, I understand.
But I know because of people gaming the system, especially romance writers, they are changing how their terms of service and allowed. So make sure you're up to date on that before you publish. And this is recent, this week. This has come out.
Oh, okay, see, that's why you gotta
This is
keep
brand new.
abreast of everything.
Like,
One thing
last
I,
48 hours.
one of the scams that are happening, one of the scams that happens is that people set up bots to read Kindle Unlimited books so that they can get returns on there. But if you set up to only read one book, that's gonna look pretty suspicious, right? So what they do is they spread it out and they'll read a lot of different books. And once those people get busted, that might be one other way to get caught up in the ban algorithm. Get hit by the ban hammer. Because if you if your book is one of these books getting read by a robot and you're getting thousands of page views that you normally wouldn't get, you're going to look suspicious too, and it's not going to be your fault. But so that's one other thing to keep in mind is Kindle Unlimited is kind of a volatile situation, and it's definitely an eggs in one basket situation where, like I said, with Bethany Claire, one reason she doesn't use Kindle Unlimited is it allows you to go through multiple outlets like Kobo, which is worth putting in your book on, iBooks, and the other one that I can't remember for the life of me right now. So, yes, Rick.
How, if you sign up with Kindle Unlimited, is that forever? Is that for 3, 4? What
That's an excellent question. It's a 90-day commitment. It is, if you're working with other companies, I know specifically, I believe it was Kobo or iBooks, they frown on you taking your books off and on in 90-day intervals because they're used to that, and it's one of those things where if you want to do Kindle Unlimited, I would recommend doing it for, I would say, you know what, for 6 months I'm going to try this and see what the return is. For a year I'm going to try this, rather than constantly flip-flopping back and forth, because when you're intentional about it, you're going to get the best return. Any other questions about Kindle Unlimited or publishing on KDP or CreateSpace? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when the 90-day period is up on
Yes.
KDP and you choose not to have that
Renewed, yeah.
renewed, does that also take you off Kindle Unlimited? Is that part of it, or do we need to go back?
I'm
and
sorry,
take-
I may not have been clear on the terms. The 90-day commitment level is for Kindle Unlimited. And part of this is because Amazon,
okay.
everything's called Kindle. The things you read it on is the Kindle. Kindle's the name of the store. But Kindle Unlimited is specifically the subscription service. And for authors, it's specifically when you have said that you have an exclusive ebook that is only on Kindle Unlimited.
So when you choose not to renew it,
Exactly.
then you're taking it off of Kindle Unlimited.
But you can still be on KDP, and that's where I am at currently.
Okay.
Yes, KDP can be a
You
permanent
can't
thing.
be on both though, can you? With the same book?
Sorry, yes,
Yes.
what you'll do is if you have a Kindle account, it'll pull up and you'll have your Kindle sales, and then right under there'll be a graph that shows your Kindle Unlimited page views. And so it's all on the same, you don't have to have 2 separate book files or anything like that. You just basically, if you're already on Kindle Direct Publishing, you just flick a switch and then you're also on Kindle Unlimited. And it's, like I said, a 90-day commitment level. You have to be very careful about having it in other, like you'll want to shut it down for a while on other places because you can get kicked off Kindle Unlimited pretty quick if you are selling in another venue. Yes, Rick?
Is there a difference in your royalties if you're exclusive with Amazon Kindle Unlimited?
Oh, do you know this one? Because I don't know this answer.
So let's clarify. You're putting your book on Amazon, you're publishing your book through KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. Why would you want to put it in Kindle Unlimited? You get 70% royalty across US and all foreign markets. That's why you put it exclusively to Kindle Unlimited. So you get 70% royalty. Let's talk numbers. Traditional publishing, the most you're going to get is 15% royalties.
Well, I think he's asking is
So-
if you were on Kindle Unlimited, does that change your royalties with KDP? And I don't believe
No,
it does.
but it takes you out of some foreign markets. Whereas if
Oh,
you're
I
in
see
Kindle
what you're saying.
Unlimited, you can have 70% across all markets. but it excludes you from some markets when you get out of Kindle
But if
Unlimited.
but if you're not in Kindle Unlimited and you're on Broadly, on Kobo and others, then what's your royalty on Amazon?
It's 70% with the exclusion of some foreign markets.
It's also if you have.
It identifies the countries.
Okay.
And so then you get the benefit of the global page reads and you're open to narrow marketing per region. So it just gives you, and when it comes out of the 90 days, there's a box that you can check. No, you don't want to be automatically enrolled in Kindle Unlimited and you'll get an email. But yeah, it's 70% for either one, but you can't sell your ebook in the other places. That is.
Well, everything's called McDonald's, it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about, okay, but you have something, you guys have stuff I want to hear about, so we can move on.
Okay, so, going wide is a term that is exclusively meaning distribution. So if you're in Kindle Unlimited, you're not going wide. Well, you're going wide worldwide, but not going wide to other
You're only for selling
sellers.
one store, and
Right.
that's it.
And so, Vicki, going wide, are you going wide with all of your stuff?
My own book, Inherit the Texas Earth, I did on Create Space. So the answer to that is no, that's the only place it is. It's coming off soon, and I'm going to republish it. The books that we publish through Yellow City Publishing go through Ingram Spark, which distributes worldwide. And you're going to talk more about Ingram, right? So I won't go into that, but yeah, they put it on Amazon. They put it on. They will put it in Mobi format, which is the format you have to have for Kindle. But you also get it on Barnes and Noble. You can check this one little box, and it's global distribution. Anyway, I assume you're going to get into that. Yeah.
The time gets here.
I think
It's the next
it
slide.
might be now.
Might be now.
Oh, y'all want to say anything about going wide? Does anybody have any questions about going wide?
I think you ought to go wide, that's my personal opinion. The wider the better.
But how does that change your royalties, or does it on different? If you're exclusive to one or the other, are the royalties different?
No, I believe that's what we said, is your royalties stay the same.
Okay.
It's just whether, the only thing the added benefit you get with Kindle Unlimited is the ability to do the giveaways and the ability to get the page turn reads for people who are subscribed to that service.
If you go through Ingram Spark, you're going to be setting your discount percentage, which is the percentage that the retail stores get, and that affects your royalty. And when you set your price, it's going to tell you what you're going to get per book. So you can manipulate that.
Yeah, your royalty through Ingram Spark vary depending on what you set the discounts at. The question though, I think, was as opposed to putting it in one store versus going wide, is your market. When you go wide, you have more market than just one. It's like having a product in one store only, little boutique downtown, as opposed to in Walmart's. You have a wider distribution. So I would recommend you go wide on your book.
Before we get into Ingram, before Craig gets into Ingram, I have prizes for the best questions, and Rick, you get a prize.
What was his question?
We don't remember.
He asked if your stuff stays the same.
Oh, yeah. Okay, did you need to say something? Or are we at, where? Are we at Ingram Spark?
I believe so.
Yes, sir, we are.
What's the process for Ingram Spark?
Ingram Spark, there's a question already.
But it's not about Ingram Spark. On the screen, you had the question, what is going wide?
Oh, okay.
I mean, generally, I understand what you're talking about.
Going wide is placing your book in all areas of publication as opposed to one store. In other words, ebooks, all different companies worldwide.
And that makes me wonder, I know Amazon is the, 900-pound gorilla in the room. What percentage of sales are on Amazon, which is Kindle, versus you've got Kobo and whatever, there's a bunch of them. Maybe you could talk about some of the specific names. And are you talking 90% is Amazon, so why would you care about anything else? Or are you talking 40% is Amazon and 60% is everybody else? What is really the breakdown?
Well, I'm not, do what?
That's a slide.
That's a slide, she
Where to
said.
publish.
Oh, okay.
So,
Actually,
yeah.
I think, Amazon, well, to answer it, 75% of ebook sales are Amazon in the US. Kobo is what Amazon is in Europe and Canada. So that's what you hear at Kobo.
So Kobo is part of Amazon?
No.
It's a
No,
format.
it's two separate
Yeah.
companies.
Different
That's part of
companies.
going.
Kobo is the
Oh,
Amazon
I
of
get
Europe.
Thank you, that's what I meant to say.
Gotcha.
You wanna
Yes.
say that again?
It is
Kobo's
the Amazon of
Europe.
Okay, and you get a prize.
Yay! I feel special.
Just for helping her out.
Oh, I like this book, thank you.
My brain, it's a lot, I know it's a lot. It's a lot to remember, it's a lot to absorb. Okay, does that answer the wide question?
And I think that's, publishing through Ingram Spark is a company that helps you publish your book and helps you go wide. It will, when you submit your book to Ingram Spark, when you go through filling out all the information, as it was mentioned earlier, you check the box to go to Europe, the UK, Australia, Canada. They will distribute your book to all booksellers, including Amazon, Barnes and Noble, every bookseller that's out there, they distribute that to.
Which company is in Latin America?
In Latin America.
Ingram Spark does global.
Well, they do global, but I'm not sure what.
Rakuten, which is Kobo's parent company, has some distribution in Latin America, but I don't know how broad yet.
Okay.
Ingram has over 70, I wrote this down actually, 70 global online retail and distribution partners. And I didn't bring that handout, but you can go on Ingram Spark and look global partners, and it lists all the companies that they market your book to.
Yes.
So there's over 70.
Is there like a large cost to listing with them, or?
No.
Craig, can you go over that? Or, I think there's two.
Well, I've worked with KDP, and I'm just wondering if Ingram Spark is it the same where when you get on there, it kind of walks you through all of these questions?
Yes.
Okay. Or
Yes.
or is there some book we can go to?
When you set up your account, when you set up your account with Ingram Spark, they'll walk you through how to set up your account and put your book on there. There is a fee to put your book on through Ingram Spark. It's $49, but that will include both print and ebook. Do what? Oh yeah, it's if you order 50 copies, I think, of your book, they refund your $49. So if you're going to order copies of your book, then basically it's free. Also, occasionally they run free book lists, like through this month, I think. I know they did one in June and one in July. To the 31st, it's free. You got a slide, yeah. So, and then also, occasionally they run free revisions, which helps out too, because sometimes you may put a book on there and then a few months later you go, I need to change that. And if they run a free revision, then you can send another file up and revise that. So that helps a lot too. I've done that several times. But it helps too if you want to change a cover. to say you wanna change your cover's just not doing it, you wanna change the cover, and they do a free revision, you can change that. Now then, any other regular revisions, let's say you wanna revise something, normally it's $25. So if you find something wrong and you wanna change that, and you wanna revise it, it's $25 to revise that. So it's not a large cost, you just need to, make sure you don't nickel and dime yourself to death revising something, so. But if you catch one of the free ones, well, but for that price, they put it out on all distribution points worldwide and globally.
Okay, excuse me, if you have your book in CreateSpace or Kindle publishing like that, and you do it in Ingram, do you use the same ISBN, or do you have to have a separate one?
I'm not sure, cause I don't know anything about CreateSpace, so I don't know what you would have to do here.
We're gonna talk about ISBN, that's why you would purchase your own ISBN. And then when you go on Ingram Spark to register your title, you just don't click Amazon. Cause your book's already on Amazon, so you don't want them to distribute to Amazon. And so just to be clear, Ingram is, if you own a bookstore and you're gonna order books for your store, you're gonna order them from Ingram or you're gonna order from Baker and Taylor. And it's online, you put in the ISBN number, and that's how you get inventory for your store. So what Ingram did, they are a book distributor. They're not a service. They just, and then they have Lightning Source, which prints the actual book. It's print on demand. They don't have a warehouse of books like the old days. And so what they did is they did Ingram Spark to help people like us.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. Because we ran up against this with publishing, and Ingram Spark sounds great, but I read so many things about the quality. But you never knew if you were gonna get a good one or if one of their print sources.
Well, let me answer that. Just about any printer, you're gonna get a bad one occasionally, and even through Ingram Spark, I've ordered a proof that didn't come back right. But I called them, or I got on their chat online, took a picture, showed them, and they reimbursed me and redid it. I've never had a problem with their customer service. The quality of the books that I've printed and used is fantastic. Matter of fact, our Route 66 book here is Ingram Spark. I had an order from a lady in Houston, Texas, that I printed her children's books. She got the books, the glue on the box, I guess where they folded the box, slid the glue, and the heat had adhered to the books, or melted from the case into the books. And she sent me a picture of that. Well, I immediately got on to the phone, Ingram Spark. They immediately sent out replacements. So I've never had a problem with their quality or their customer service as far as that goes. They've been fantastic, everything that I've done.
On the ISBN, we had a question about that. You are able to, if you have purchased your own ISBN, and we'll talk about ISBNs more in a little while, you are able to you have to have it released by CreateSpace. You'll send them a message. They have a process built in for that, and then you can transfer to Ingram Spark. If you are using Amazon's, one of their free ISBNs, or probably, I'm guessing also their $10, I believe it's $10 ones that allow you to list a different publisher. If you're using those, you'll have to re-upload your book again with a purchased ISBN, and then I'm guessing you'll be able to probably get the other one off the store or merge them. So there's that.
Okay, on reading here, it said we could send, I heard a comment on the poetry as a poet.
Oh, right.
Books of poetry. That if we send this in PDF, will it not cut the book up? Okay.
Oh, you're talking about.
We're advising not to do some of these with your poetry books because they cut up the format.
I guess that would be if you sent a Word document. PDF wouldn't be cutting it up.
Well, I'm looking here at CreateSpace. It looks
You,
like
I don't know about
here's the thing with I think we're talking about two different things. We said with ebooks, the poetry, with ebooks, the end user is able to control the size of the fonts and things like that, which will change the formatting of something like poetry. E.E. Cummings is going to look pretty strange on everybody's different Kindle. You know what I mean? But when you're dealing with publishing, you will, I know James uploads Word documents, and that can go through a process, and that will end up, it should look the same pages because it's separated by pages. But I use PDFs, and with PDF, the nice thing about PDFs, I know we hate to wait for them to load when we're surfing the internet, but with PDFs, what you see is what you get. It will look the same no matter what. So when you're a PDF will turn into the print book. So your printed books will look what they're supposed to look like. Image quality and things like that might be affected by the process, so that's why you want to get a proof copy. But if your hard copy will look correct.
But the Ingram Spark might be a good place to look at.
Well, Ingram Spark, it would be the same
For
thing.
the ebook,
It's just a distributor.
It's just a distributor.
Right.
for the ebook, you have to have an EPUB file to send for the ebook.
This is unfortunately one of the problems with poetry is since the vision of how it looks, unless you made everyone an image and no one's gonna wanna handle it that way. But I would guess that 18% of people that read poetry on ebooks prefer it on ebooks. They're probably just fine with just reading the words however they end up looking. So I think it's just one of those things where you're just gonna have to take a little bit.
I was gonna say that with poetry, you might take a look at press books. In press books, you upload one chapter at a time, and you can put in like one poem at a time, and then you hit PDF, and it generates your PDF. So that might be one way you could format without having difficulties.
Okay, my formatting slide is 4 slides down.
Okay, we'll get to it.
We're getting off topic. All right, let's keep going. If you sign up for Ingram, you will get newsletters and emails like Craig mentioned, and read them. Oh, sorry. Read those newsletters because I've missed several things that I should have taken care of that I just glossed through the newsletter and saved it for later. So this is great. Next week, you have a week to put all your titles up for free. Free title setup on Ingram.
Revisions are free. We mentioned revisions. They are free on Kindle and CreateSpace. So if you're worried that you're going to have to be doing that a lot, that may be one other reason the barriers are a little lower for new publishers.
If you find a typo, you can change your book content however many times on Kindle. On Ingram's, it is a charge, but they have free on that. Occasionally. And occasionally they'll have 5% off all book orders. So order a case, get 5% off. That lowers your title. They also send great emails like this, marketing ideas. Happy book birthday. That's exactly the terminology I used on the library in Canyon. And then they said order copies of your book and give them as thank you with a thank you card. So they'll give you little ideas.
I will mention too, they have, if you watch YouTube, they have a YouTube channel, and they do good videos on how to do things on YouTube. So Ingram Spark has good instruction videos there too.
All right, the next slide is book design. And I wanted to let each of the panel talk about the particular covers. I just picked one, a 4-color bleed. I think Ryan told us about that. Taz, my rescue horse, we went through a professional photographer, looked at photographs, couldn't decide, things didn't work. That's a photo from the horses on her cell phone. So you can do amazing things today. All right, Vicki, do you want to talk about your cover? Sure.
An Unexamined Life is Russell Long's novel, and that cover came from selfpublishedbookcovers.com, and he added stuff to it. And the person who runs it, a graphics designer with them, actually will talk to you immediately if you want to talk about something. And he did my cover, and I thought it was just gorgeous, and he said, I'll make that pop for you better. And he changed my wording on it, or the size and the placement, and it looked a whole lot better. So it's real, user-friendly. My covers are all real different. Let me go over there just a
Do you want me to
second.
grab
Just
one?
to give you, no, I can't go there. I'll talk real loud. These three are matte covers. This one was done by Malin Miller, whose name I gave you. All the others here are self-cut book covers. Unexamined Life is gloss. And this one was specially designed by Philip Gesser and sent. This one was done on Lulu. It's a compilation of stories that my ESL students wrote, and we made a book every year and let them have it. I was not into cover design. This is one of their free covers. So if you just want it for something personal, Lulu's really a good option. So, anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Cover design, all right. Yeah, our time on Route 66, it's a cover design that I created. It's actually 3 different photographs. It's designed to show the progression of the inside of the book, the old car, the 1930s car, and it is traveling Route 66. You have the U drop in, which represents basically the modern era. So the stories go from the 30s all the way through 2025 in the book. So that's kind of the design there. 3 photos were cropped. The car photo was actually a daylight photograph. And we purchased the rights from the Oklahoma Historical Society, and then cropped it and put a night sky in it so that the U drop in would show up with its fluorescent or its lights.
The designer on that book cover is Rory C. Kill.
Yes, I created that book cover. So the book is also in a matte. We were talking about matte or gloss. When you design that book cover in Ingram Spark, you go to set up your book. It will give you the option of whether you want matte or gloss or hardcover. It also gives you an option of what kind of paper you want, whether you want white or cream color, or even some of the option is the poundage of paper that you want. So if you want a thicker paper or a lighter paper, so it gives you all those options.
Dimensionally, I know there's all different sizes of books. Is
Yes.
there kind of what your suggestion would be depending on genre, or how do you decide the page sizes of the book you want published?
Well, I think this kind of the standard runs between like ours is a 8.5 by 5.5, but it runs from 9 by 6 to 8.5, just standard books. Now you can get any size you want. It gives you those options. The cost is different on those options, so you need to be aware of that. What you can punch in, or what I do is I'll punch in a particular size and page number, the amount of paper, because that makes a difference in your cost. And it will tabulate all of that at the end. This is what that book will cost you to print it with this size, this much paper. So it'll give you that price.
It does that on Ingram?
Ingram Spark, yes.
I would look at your genre too. If it's a kid's book, what's hot sellers? Go to the bookstore with the tape measure.
Yes.
That's exactly what I would recommend.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
wanna
I've
go
done
and
that.
get the best looking books in that genre, the ones that you think look incredible and the ones that sell well, and you wanna use that as your standard. That's exactly what I would
Right.
recommend.
Thank you.
Are we ready for the next
Well,
one? Oh, sorry.
No, I already talked about this a little bit, where if you feel comfortable doing it yourself and you are a graphic designer, that may be in your wheelhouse and do it. If not, you have to remember that the thing that is going to sell your book as much as anything is the cover. And it's also, oh, yes, ma'am.
Oh, keep going.
I was going to say, unfortunately, the dead giveaway for many people who are self-publishing, not that we're trying to hide the fact that we're self-publishing, is the covers. I had several people who were very surprised that I self-published, because one thing I did is I went through and I really made a professional looking book.
And I'm very proud of that, and I want to make sure that when you spend a year of your life, even if or a few months or whatever it takes you to write a book, if it takes 2, 3, 4 years, which is what is realistic for many of us, you want to put a cover on that honors the time you put in and will sell that book. A few common mistakes is with your images, you want to make sure that they're 300 DPI at minimum, because unfortunately, one of the problems I've seen with mini books is they'll have a good-looking cover, and then there'll be an image on it that is too small, and it makes it look pretty unprofessional. So make sure you have 300 DPIs on any images that you're going to use, including your author photos. Now, the other thing I was going to say is when you're choosing the matte or gloss, I prefer matte. You're going to want to go with your genre on whether or not you go matte or gloss, also in the size. I think their cream color usually looks better, but since I had illustrations in this one, I went ahead and went with the white, and you're just also going to have to go on your choices for that and for sizes. So there you go.
Okay, now I have a question.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Have any of y'all used Canva to create book covers?
No, I'm trying to learn that program, but I have seen book covers created by it. Yes.
The deal about Canva is you can only, after 10,000 copies, you have to change covers, or it's got a limit when you use it to only 10,000 copies. So if you want yours to be a bestseller, don't use Canva.
But 10,000 is not a bad age.
No, 10,000 is good. But
So
I'm just
go for
saying,
it.
if
But
it's
it's
something
something
that,
to keep in mind.
yeah, it's something to keep in mind. But the other thing I was gonna say is that both of my sons are graphic designers, and when I was choosing between matte and gloss, they said if you use matte, you can take a picture of it without sheen,
That's also good.
shine or
Yeah,
reflection.
very good.
And so if your genre picks, says, okay, it needs to be gloss, then go with gloss. But if it's kind of either or, using the matte could make it a little easier to market for yourself, so
that is exactly the point I was gonna make, because if you love Instagram, go on some of the publishers that are on Instagram. They do some beautiful still shots with their book covers and with items and articles, backgrounds that set off the book cover, little items, little tokens or things that are in the book. You cannot do that with a gloss cover. It's really hard. You cannot make those marketing pictures. And it's really fun. I took hanging day and I went in our saddle house at our ranch and I put it in a robe, set it up on a saddle, did all kinds of promo shots with that, and it would not have worked with gloss. You just, the shine, you can't get rid of it. So anyway, thank you, Kim. All right, ISBNs, International Standard Book Numbers. Do we need an ISBN? And Amazon does assign, you can use their ISBNs, and they're called AISBNs. And I have Craig down to start us off on this.
The answer is yes. You need an ISBN number. It is your book's identifying number. That's what it is. That identifies you. Now then, if you go through it like Amazon, that kind of thing, and buy one of theirs, it identifies that number with Amazon. It will the publisher. So it'll identify that as the publisher. And I think we talked about the CreateSpace getting papers to transfer it, the ISBN number. You have to go through that. I've transferred some ISBN numbers from another publisher when I took on a lady's work, and you have to sign all kind of legal papers to get that done and take financial responsibility to do that. So yes, you need an ISBN number.
If you went through CreateSpace, got the free one, you want to go to Ingram Spark, you got to buy a new one, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Just making sure.
you may not have to. For example, I didn't have to change ISBN numbers when I basically purchased this other publishing company and took on these ISBN numbers. They will transfer one time. You have to sign legal papers from Balker.
Right, but she means if you have a Amazon might not transfer it.
Amazon might not do
I
that,
don't
you're
think
right.
they will. They're not gonna, they don't want, anything that takes a person, they're not gonna wanna do it.
Yeah, so otherwise you'd have to discontinue the book and then republish it with your own ISBN number.
And that'll cause problems down the line with, reviews transferring and the Goodreads and all those things.
All that will cancel,
Would
yeah.
you recommend from the get-go, just buying your ISBNs?
Well, yes, I would, if that's, what you're gonna do. Now, if you're fine with other people publishing your book and that's not a big deal, then, buy them. But you can buy those from Bowker. One will cost you $125, or you can buy 500 or 100 for $525. Or you can buy 10 for $325.
And sometimes they have them on sale, and you can get a coupon code online for 20 and 30% off.
Yeah, so you just have to watch for those, so.
It's worth checking.
Worth checking for. But you do need an ISBN number. Not only do you need one ISBN number, but you will need an ISBN number for every version of your book. For example, if you put out a print book, you need an ISBN number. If you put out a digital copy, you need an ISBN number. If you put out a hard copy, you will need another ISBN number.
Audio.
Audio book. So every different version of your book, if you put out a special edition of your book with extra pictures in the back, like sometimes happens, you'll need another ISBN number.
Large print.
Large print, you need an ISBN number. So every variation, you will need a different number for that. So, but you will need it identifies your book in the big scheme of things.
That's at myidentifiers.com. myidentifiers.com. You can buy 10 for $2.95. There's an investment in your business. Got to figure out where your dollars go. myidentifiers.com.
10 for how much?
$2.95. But a lot of times they have a special too. I think the last 10 I got was like $2.25 or something. It was a set.
But I have just run out, I've just run out of the 10 that I bought the last time. And when I do it again, I'm definitely just going to buy 100 because I don't want to have to, because, well, it's $200 more for 90 more. And you use, I generally use 3 for each of my books. The paperback, the EPUB, and the Mobi file, and Mobi is what goes on Kindle. So you're gonna burn through those pretty quickly. And unfortunately, they're the only game in town. So, I do agree that I would go ahead and buy them first, because are we self-dabblers or are we self-publishers? You know what I mean? Right. I don't want I don't want to give that much power to Amazon if I can help it. If you are just wanting to have a book out there, it might be worth it to just do a free one because it's free. But if you're wanting if you're wanting to continue down the line, and I'm eventually wanting to publish other people's stuff like these very intelligent entrepreneurs are doing, you're going to want to go ahead and go all in. And that's in my personal opinion. And we have nearly come to blows over this in the past. So we can all meet outside and fight over whether or not you have to buy your ISBNs. But I think it's the more professional thing. And one major thing with it is, if you go through Amazon and use their free ones, it's going to come up as Amazon being the publisher. They do have a $10 option that allows you to replace their publishing name with yours, but once again, that's not going to be something that transfers, and it's not going to hold. But if you go ahead and get your own ISBN, it will list you as the publisher. Now, ISBNs are not transferable except under a lot of hassle. Yes. So you can't just go, if you could just team up with a bunch of friends and buy 1,000 of them, that would be the way to go. But unfortunately, you can't do that. You can will them to your children if you don't use them all. So one more reason to buy 100 of them.
Okay, all right, we gotta move on. We'll go fast. Okay, formatting.
One real quick. Is everyone okay with us going into overtime? Or does people have to leave at noon?
Please leave if you need to, but we'll go fast. All right, formatting. EPUB, Mobi, PDF, Mobi, just familiarize yourself.
No one is hostage, you're welcome.
Yeah. Familiarize yourself with these terms. Mobi is Amazon exclusive. And they have a lot of guides on Amazon that help you. You can upload your doc file and it'll crunch it and turn it into .mobi. So, formatting tools and options real quick. I know some people use Vellum, which is for Mac. If y'all want a real quick, it's already 12, so tell us what format you use.
I use Vellum for Mac, and I am a PC user. What I do is rent Macincloud, Macincloud. It has Vellum already loaded on it. There is some very good online tutorials by a man named Paul Teague on how to use the Macincloud for Vellum. And it gives me the ebook and the PDF, and then Ingram Spark does the Mobi.
I am a Mac user, and I use Vellum for the print books, for some of the print books and the ebooks. I also use InDesign for illustrated books, and that's a whole different program. Vellum doesn't do illustrated books, so if you just want a print book, Vellum's a good program to use. But I have a variety of programs that do that, and when you use Ingram Spark and you upload your EPUB file, they will convert it to all the different Mobis and other ebook.
But be sure to check them because the transfer will change things up.
Yes, you need to and Ingram Spark will send you. They will always send you a e-proof, which means they will send it to your email. This proof that you can look at to make sure your books come out right. So that's one good thing. Then I recommend, it's been mentioned already, I recommend buying a printed proof if you're going to have a print book, so that you'll know what it looks like for your customer or before you buy a case of them. So for yourself.
I have used Pressbooks, and that you have, excuse me, a little more control with Pressbooks than you do with Vellum, but you have to upload it one chapter at a time, and my book's 75 chapters long. So Vellum is much simpler to use. You also can put pictures in the Vellum format. I've tried doing it, and you can, but you have to be sure the pictures are 300 dpi and look good and all that.
Thank you. I write in Word, and for my first book, I used Word to format the print copy, and I was very happy with how it turned out. I did use a template, and I did mess with the PDF a little bit to get the blacks looking good. So you have to be confident. Yes?
What template did you use?
I wish I had it in my mind at the moment. I do not. I have that material available, but I'll Google it when we're talking. I'll try and find it. There are, if you Google for Word templates, there are several options, and there are pay ones, and you're going to be happy probably with what you find, and you can tweak them because they're Word documents. When I formatted my own ebooks, I used Scrivener, and I was very happy with how that turned out. That's listed up there. It's not very expensive, and you can usually find a discount for it. So a lot of people actually prefer to use it as their word processor. For the ebooks themselves, the best results you're going to get is when you know someone who uses code, because an ebook is actually just pretty much HTML files that are combined in an archive. And so if that's something you are familiar with, or you know someone familiar with, that's going to be your absolute, you're going to get exactly what you want if you go that way. If you hire someone, you're going to want them to use the code level or something else. I know if you're on a Mac, Pages can create an ebook, and they look really good. An iBook, they can be turned into other things, and those look really good too. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
I have kind of a strange question, and I think it falls under this. I've got my rights back on my old novels, and I'm wanting to publish those, self-publish those. Would the best thing to do be to scan the text or have it retyped?
Oh, man.
Do you have any idea?
You don't have the original Word documents, or?
No, because they were written back during the days of floppy disks. So
I would suggest retype them.
Have them retyped rather than scan them?
Yeah.
Wow.
Your quality is going to diminish. Question back there.
My question, this is to Matt, since this you did this
if we emailed either you or info@texas-writers.com, could you email us a PDF of the?
Absolutely.
We can't see the words back here.
Oh, I'm sorry I didn't bring enough hand copies.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Yeah, if you, you want them to just, they have my email address, you have my bookmark and my card, email me at natalie@nataliebright.com, tell me you want the PowerPoint, and I will be happy to send it to you. Thank you, Janet, I apologize, and I'm sorry we're running over time, I know it's a lot of information, we'll keep going if that's okay. So where do I publish? Let's talk, I do want to mention Draft to Digital. I think we've touched upon all of these topics. I do want to touch upon Draft to Digital. If you are not interested in getting into any of this, One Stop Shop, they're an Oklahoma-based company. You give them your book, one upload, they keep 10% of all your sales. They format it, they put it out on all the markets, they have free tools. You set up your tax information one time, they keep out your taxes. You get 90% of all sales, they keep 10%. So you might look them up if you're not wanting to learn all this other stuff. They'll do everything for you, for indie authors.
Which one? I missed the first part.
Draft to Digital, DRAFT, and it's on your slide, your handout. The number 2, Digital. They're based in Oklahoma. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about keywords real quick. When you upload your book to Amazon, you get 7 keywords or phrases, and it is phrases. And one tip I have is search for your keywords on Amazon in incognito mode. Because all of your history on your computer and your history in Amazon determines what books you see when you search something on Amazon. So all you do is right click on your web browser and you'll see incognito mode. And that means there's no history. It doesn't keep the history and it's like a clean slate. Okay, keywords. Who wants to talk about keywords?
Just start right here.
It's a big thing.
One thing you need to know about keywords, and let me define it first, I guess everybody probably knows what it is. These are words that when you type it in when you're looking for something, it will pop up. So you want to choose the ones that are the most specific, excuse me, and that will get people to your site. One thing that will help if you need more than 7, if you add like a subtitle or a subline, something like that on your book. For example, if I had put on Inherit the Texas Earth, a family saga, or stories of the Depression, those words automatically are already keywords. If it's on your title, it's automatically a keyword already, okay? So that's one way you can get in more than the ones you need. But they're absolutely critical, and there's several ways you can go about kind of trying to, lots of places like BookBaby and Bowker is one, send out newsletters and they talk about keywords and give you ways to see what works and what doesn't. It's worth playing with.
And those are something you can change along the way too. I know on IngramSpark, you can go back into your book setup page after your book's been published, and you can go back into there and you can change those. So, you know, if you're going down 6 months, you hadn't had any hits, go back in and change those metadata words, you know, just put other things that are more direct in association, and that's free to do on your book setup page. So you can change those on a regular basis to make a difference in your advertising. So
I don't have anything to add. Those.
Okay, the slide just shows you Amazon's where you enter the keywords, and it has to be phrases. It doesn't have to be. It can be phrases. Real quickly, I want to show you. This was at our Canadian workshop, and this gentleman wrote a book, and he's an ex-football coach, and his main character was a football player, But the story really didn't have anything to do with football, but his keywords, you can see his rankings in the 2000s, 3000s. So one of the exercises they did is they changed his keywords to more what his story was. And look at that. Just the change of keywords, he moved up to number 28 in religious, inspirational fiction, and biblical. And some of you that were at the Canadian workshop might remember this. Is there anything?
I didn't know we'd actually done it.
Yeah. That was like a week after Canadian that it moved up in the rank like that.
Guess what we're doing today?
All right, social media platforms. Oh my gosh, this is a huge topic too. We'll go fast. So basically the easiest way is your website's your home base. Everything you do drives everything back to your website. That's why that brand and that name that you're going to use and stay with is very important. So don't Twitter if you don't like Twitter. If it drives you nuts and you don't ever on Twitter, don't Twitter. Don't tweet. Don't set it up. If you see no absolute sense in Instagram or why people even want to go to Instagram, don't set up an Instagram page and post. If it makes no sense to you, don't do it. Because if you're just going to tweet once a week, that's like a nothing. It's not going to get you anywhere. So just do the social media platforms that you absolutely love, that you're on all the time, that makes sense to you. And don't stress out about it. That's, people stress out. And it's not about, it's engagement. It's engaging people, engaging your fans and your readers, and the people you meet when you go to events. So we're nearly done.
I'm not somebody who really likes being on social media very much. It's hard for me to do. So I have a website, and I have author pages, and I use Facebook. And I tie them together. I've got a couple of other accounts, but I'm not on them very often. So I just plug at that. I also was very happy to find a book called 12-Month Marketing Plan by Ron Knight, K-N-I-G-H-T. It's like $1.99 or something. And he never mentioned social media. It gives you all other ways to market. So I liked that particularly.
And what's his name again?
Ron Knight.
With a K?
Yes.
The idea behind social media is mass marketing. This is where you went from being an author and a publisher, now you're a marketer. You have to work at marketing your book. That's what, when traditional publishers was the deal, they made the posters and they made the book signings and you just showed up and signed your books. You are now taking that place. And so, if you're not a social media guru, that's an avenue that's pretty good, but if it doesn't appeal to you, then don't jump off in it, because you'll spend a lot of time with not good effect. I use all kinds of social media. I have a web page, we have Facebook pages, we have Instagram, Twitter, I have all of that. There's some of it you can connect to each other. So, you're something like your Facebook page, and it used to be a MySpace page, but I don't know if anybody uses it. I still have a MySpace page.
You're the one.
I'm the one that has a MySpace page. But I figured that a long time, you could connect those two together and make one post, and it would go to all of your different social media accounts. So if you're guru enough to set that up, that's a good way to do that. Connect your blog, and just mass market. That's what you're doing. I still like personal, one-on-one advertising. Book signings is a fantastic way to get new readers, and that's what it's going to come down to, is people who know you and they like your writing and you interact with them. So any way that you can do that, whether it's personal, whether it's social media, you need to do it.
One thing I want to add is there's a great book out there called Your First 1,000 Copies. Your First, and it's spelled out, 1000, and it talks a lot about the power of a newsletter, and that's what when I was looking that up. If you mentioned that already, I apologize, but a newsletter is still an email newsletter is still the #1 way to actually get eyes on your marketing. So if you are at all interested in publishing, which if you're here, I'm assuming that's the case, it's never too early to start your newsletter. MailChimp, MailChimp is the easiest and best way that I've found to do a newsletter. You don't want to use your personal email because that's a good way to make sure that no one sees your emails, because it will become a spam email address. But MailChimp makes it so that does not happen, and it's very user-friendly. I would say it's one of those things where if you're at all comfortable using the computer, you can do it, and even if you're not, it's something that you could learn to do, I believe. Yes, Rick?
Can you do a newsletter through Wix.com?
I do not know. I don't use Wix. Is anyone familiar? Okay, I'm not sure because you have to collect the email addresses somehow.
Okay.
I know with WordPress there's a plugin, and then you can also get people's permission to add them to newsletters, and I think I get added to a lot of newsletters without my permission. So maybe there's a little Wild West. You could. I wouldn't recommend that. It's probably a felony. No, but what I would say is be sure to have a newsletter going, start one up and get it going, and be diligent about it, which for me is, this is kind of a come to Jesus moment for me, because I am terrible about being consistent with my newsletter. But if you do that, that is the best way to keep eyes on. Do the social medias that you enjoy. You might also want to look at your audience, and if you're writing romance, you probably want to be on Pinterest and Instagram and things like that. I would also remind you, though, one of the benefits of a newsletter is email addresses stick with people for a long time. I know we've been on Facebook for a while, but most people have migrated away from, say, MySpace, or there was a blogging platform that everyone used for a while, and now I can't even remember the name of it. So it's one of those things where things come and go, newsletter, emails, that stuff's gonna stick around for a long time. So you're not always going to want to chase what the cool kids are doing, because the cool kids keep changing their minds. So.
It was Blogger.
Blogger, I'm thinking even before that. But Blogger is another one where people are still active.
Gmail.
It doesn't matter. Well, Blogger was bought by, but regardless, you don't want to chase those. You want to make sure you're utilizing those things and using them. And for instance, for me, Twitter is great because I get to find all the comic book nerds who might be interested in my book. So Twitter is really good for that. But when I did my Kickstarter, I noticed almost all my Kickstarts came through Facebook from people that knew me a little bit better. So it's hard to know what's going to work best, but experiment and be diligent and say, I'm going to do this for a month. And if you start picking up speed, that's the one to stick with.
Yes.
So there you go.
Use all of it that you can.
So once again, flexibility, the word flexibility. And also I meant to mention, you can have one book on Kindle Unlimited, and then you can put your series, for example, on Ingram. That's the flexibility. You can experiment, see what works, what's best for your book, and then you can have a traditionally published book. So that's what's fun about all this. Pay it forward. One thing in the indie author community that I think is very strong when you start joining groups and meeting people is we all help each other. We're not in competition. Because my favorite authors, when their books come out, I'm going to buy their books regardless whether you put out a book or not, and I'm going to buy your book too. So we're not in competition against each other, but we can post reviews and help keep our posts sticky by sharing. It's a simple click of a share, a like, and that keeps things going, and we all work together. And that's what's fun about the indie author community, I think. The next topic is Amazon author pages, and I wanted to mention this because there's so many authors who don't use this. And it's very easy. After you get your book uploaded for free to Amazon, you go to authorcentral.amazon.com, and there's the choices. You manage your profile, you add a picture, you can upload photos, you can link your blog to it. This is for authorcentral.amazon.com is the US. After you've gone to the US, you need to go to these other countries, UK, France, There's the links on your, and I will send that to people who didn't get a handout, I apologize. And add those in each country. And there are English, there's two schools of thoughts. One, use Amazon Translate, take all your stuff from your US Amazon Author Central page, cut and paste it into Amazon Translate, put it in here. And other people say, Google Translate, yeah, thank you, Google Translate. Other people say, look, all those kids learn English at school. So just type in your information at each, but that sets you up, when you go wide, that sets you up. Does anybody have someone say one thing? Yeah, Google Translate.
If it's a program and not a person doing it, you need to be very careful. And just think about the word run, for example, in English, and how many different meanings it has, or the word bank. That's two different words in French. It's not in English. And you can get your translation messed up pretty fast.
Okay, I'm going to cut this short and skip some topics, but one thing I do want to talk about is how do you stay organized? Because there's lots going on. Some of us have day jobs. And how do you stay organized with all that you've got going on? And publishing other books.
Yeah.
Stay organized? Well, I'm a morning person, so I try to set out 2 hours every morning. And if I've got something that's pressing that I need to get finished, I'll do that first. And then I'll go to the other things. But you really just have to compartmentalize, because if I go back and forth between things, that's a mess. So I have to stick with something until I get to some sort of stopping place. Then go to something else.
I just use the good old computer and have files, every books I'm writing, different files, and then I have, books that I'm publishing for other people. I have different files. I use lots of spreadsheets. So spreadsheets are one of the keys for me, because I can just lay it all out there and all the information's there. So that's how I stay organized.
Yes, anyone who knows me is gonna laugh at me talking about organization, but see, this is who you wanna hear from, is someone who is terrible at it. How the heck do you keep your head above water? And I use Google Documents, because you can access them from anywhere, and you can also back them up, which is something you wanna do periodically. If you have everything on the cloud, and the cloud rains, you're in trouble. So what you wanna do is if you wanna back up to the cloud, if you're working on your desktop, and if you're working on the cloud, you wanna back up to your desktop. So, but I use Google Sheets to keep track of things like what work I would have from who, and I use it a lot for my freelancing as well. When it comes to keeping track for my stories, I use a Google document. I call it my supplemental file, and that's how I keep from losing ideas, as I keep track of them in Google Documents. I have one for unwritten story ideas, and it's just constantly filling up, and then I go, anytime I have time to write a short story, I go, oh yeah, I have 1,000 short story ideas, and I go grab one from that, because more good ideas have been forgotten than have been written down. So be sure to do that. And then for my supplemental files, for instance, for 4-Color Bleed, whatever the working title for that was, I would have that supplemental file, and then I also had one that tracked characters. And I would go through and I would keep track of everything inside of those files. And instead of going back and making changes, because you never know how many changes you're going to make, I just push on through and get to the end of the book, and I say, oh wait, at the beginning of the book, that should probably be a female character. I just turn them into they go through transition in my book, and then I just write them that way from then on, but then I go back and I make a note in my supplemental file and go back and change it. So I hope that's helpful for some of you who are as chronically unorganized as I am.
Just keep good notes. I will also say, if you're publishing your own work, keep the working files. Don't let them go. Because that's what you change when you upload a new revision. So you keep those working files somewhere. Don't always back them up. Like you said, Dropbox is a good one if you don't have Google. What was it? Google
Documents,
Cloud,
and then
document.
OneDrive will also, your Microsoft account has a OneDrive.
Okay, so there's a lot of those you can get, like in Dropbox is, I don't know, 5 or 10 gigs of free space, and
That's
then
a
you
lot
can
of
buy more.
documents.
But, it's, you know, one of those cloud deals that you can back up to. So keep 2 or 3 places where you keep these files in case your computer crashes.
That's good. I write in Scrivener and it automatically backs up to Dropbox. So I always have and then I also use whiteboards where I have my deadlines. I usually work publishing about 2 years in advance. I take on a person that I help publish their book 1 a year. That's about all the time I have. And then I work about 2 years in advance with my publishing schedule, so I know what books I want to get out this year and then what I want to get out in 2019. Sometimes I'll make that deadline, sometimes not, but it's all good. It's all fun. Okay, Alliance of Independent Authors is a great resource. If you want to look at that group, they have a Facebook page. And I think we talked about KDP accounts get burned on do-overs. Ryan talked about that already.
You want to, if you go through, sorry,
If this happens to you, you're gonna wanna know this. If you get banned on Amazon, you're going to get an email that says, you are banned forever, there's nothing you can do about it. And it makes you very nervous. So what you wanna do is, if you are banned from Kindle, if you are banned from KDP, you are not able to use the KDP contact. So what you have to do is you go through Amazon and they will connect you with Kindle. And you're going to do that a dozen times over a couple of months. Hopefully yours would go smoother, but for me, it took me 2 months to get back online. And the only way that you can do that is I tried emails and that didn't seem to be successful. I went through and you use just the Amazon contact number. They will transfer you to KDP, and then you will talk to someone who can't do anything about it, and then get transferred to someone who can. And then they will tell you that the people who do the banning cannot be reached by any way but email. They don't have phones there. And so it will take a couple of tries, I'm unfortunately to say, because it's all algorithms and there's not a person involved. But that is the trick, is you have to get on the phone, and that's how you get unbanned.
How do you get banned?
I wish I'm a criminal mastermind, and I can't reveal all of that because I have no idea how I got there. Because like I said, I think it may have had to do with having reviews from people that I personally knew.
Yeah.
But honestly, I have no idea. The ban said that it was for manipulating Kindle, my place in the Kindle store, something along those lines. I don't think it matters. I think I was banned by ones and zeros. So there's no way to really know.
Oh, wow.
But that's how you get back, is on the phone with Amazon.
Okay, final thoughts. I recommend the book Authorpreneur by Jesse Warren Tedlow. And final thoughts, we're moving quick. And I apologize for the delay, and thank y'all for staying, and we'll have questions. Yes?
This is a really good question, but if you want to enter contests, which can pay off greatly, do not publish your book. Wait until you enter all the contests and see what happens.
Oh, that makes
Because
sense.
once your book is published, you cannot enter contests.
Yeah. And there may be, sometimes you can't sell your work that's published. If you have a blog and you publishing your work on your blog, that's considered published work. So if you're planning on selling that work, consider taking it off of your blog or your website or someplace that's already published.
Or your Facebook.
There are also contests for books that have been published. And there's a good site, and I can't remember the name of it right now, that lists lots and lots of contests. But if you just type in list of contests, or even list of contests for published books, you probably could find some, because there are some for published books. But I just want to reiterate something that Natalie said, which was, we're a networking group, we help each other. And this is my chance to say thank you to the two of you, because when I started trying to publish my own books, I did not have a clue what I was doing. I am not particularly computer literate, and I needed a lot of help, and they were both just absolutely as kind as they could be. They probably said that, woman that know what she's doing. But they didn't say it to my face. And I managed to learn. And so just call, because we've all been through the process of having to do stuff we don't know how to do.
Which you make a good point. Don't discount the people in this room. There are some excellent people in this room with a lot of knowledge, and that's what we're all here for, to help each other and help each other learn and grow in our professional careers. So this is a great group to help with that.
I just reiterate that. You know, I first found this group, and it was Panhandle Professional Writers, and it was probably back in 2007 or 9 or somewhere in there. And the reason I found them was because I wanted to write a book, and I didn't know how to write a book. Matter of fact, I was challenged to write a book, and I took a bet that I could write a book. And then I decided I needed to find somebody that knew how to write a book. So I looked up the Writers Guild in Amarillo, and it pointed me to Panhandle Professional Writers. And so I've been a member since then and have run through the gamut of offices in the organization. But because of that, I've written books and I've sold work and I've helped others write. So I know how it feels when you get your work in a book, whether you make $1 million or $2, just to have that in your hand, it just feels wonderful. And so that's what it's about. If we can help you do that, that's what we want to do. Just have that good feeling.
Definitely. I had someone ask which template I use for my book. I believe it came from DIYbookformats.com. It seems like they have a lot of great resources. I think you have to sign up for a newsletter now in order to download the free ones, and they also have some for purchase. But if you're wanting to use Word to format your book, use a template to save yourself so many headaches. Other than that, last words, I would say one of the best things I've done for my writing is to get into a consistent critique group. I know it can be hard to find one that isn't already full and things like that, but it's really great and it's very encouraging for to meet with other writers, because here in this room, it's a room full of creative people, but I know here in the Panhandle, sometimes it feels like you're all alone and you're kind of floating around. So getting plugged in with creative people, whether it's through a critique group and you're here at the Texas High Plains Writers, which is a great place too, continue to network and keep track and find people who encourage you, because you all deserve to get a book out there. You all do. And if I'm able to get books out there, oh yeah, well, thank you. And if I can get 2 books out, anybody can do it. And I'm going to get 18 more because I'm going to need to find out. So thank you guys so much. And
thank you for sharing.